Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at another buffed Pokemon from the Season 24 balance update for GO Battle League, and that is Shadow Torterra. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Bandman Clayton, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now Shadow Torterra, for the entire time it's been in Pokemon Go, has not had a viable fast move. Torterra now gets access to Mud Slap, and this trainer runs it with Frenzy Plant and Stone Edge. In the back, Togekiss and Shadow Charizard. Now, I am famously a fan of the other grass ground type, Toedscruel, but I'm willing to keep an open mind and see what Torterra can do. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches, and Torterra is off to a great start in game number 1, leading into Clodsire. Save switch Primeape, not nearly as safe as it once was, as in comes Togekiss. Togekiss more than happy to shake off that Rage Fist, and these pegs are just shredding this Pokemon. Psyshock is going to land, down goes that Primeape, and now when the opponent brings back in the Clodsire, Clodsire will be taking some pretty substantial damage from Psyshock. Psyshock into the Clodsire will connect, and it looks like Psyshock would come pretty close to two-shotting with the peck damage. Clodsire does not want to take any additional damage, so they will end up putting up a shield. And now in comes Torterra. Torterra looking for a full farm down, and Clodsire hangs on 1 HP. Torterra will put up the shield in the back. This could be trouble. It's Galarian Moltres. Torterra will go for a Frenzy Plant bait. The bait is successful. Torterra will now go for the Stone Edge instantly. I love this decision to throw on alignment. You do not want the Moltres getting any extra residual energy, because this game is going to come down to a race to the charge move. Moltres needs a second fly, Charizard needs the Blast Burn, Charizard will barely outpace, the opponent falls one Sucker Punch short. Blast Burn knocks out Moltres, all that's left is 1 HP left on the Clodsire, and that is a good game. We move to game number 2, leading Shadow Torterra into Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff, obviously Icy Wind would hit for double super effective damage. Opponent save switches into Dugong. This team is triple weak to Dugong, so this is instantly a huge problem. Torterra is going to stay in, try and get to a second Frenzy Plant. It cannot get there, and unfortunately that's probably just going to be a loss. In comes Shadow Charizard. Charizard will no-shield the Icy Wind, but this is going to be a really tricky game, as how do you get rid of this Dugong? Dugong is now going to get smacked around by a Blast Burn. Blast Burn has been debuffed. It still knocks out. In comes Wigglytuff. Charizard gets the Air Cutter. Opponent switches and catches onto Credilli. Honestly, this Air Cutter landing onto the Credilli isn't the worst. Oh, they actually shield the Credilli. They, I guess, miscounted. They're unfamiliar with the Dragon Breath counts. They protect Credilli, and now the question is, how much damage can this Togekiss do? Togekiss is going to need to try and 1v2 in this endgame. Togekiss will CMP-tie Credilli, denying their second Rock Tomb. This is very helpful, as Togekiss still has the shield intact, but unfortunately Wigglytuff stored a bunch of energy. Togekiss is also debuffed, which means the Psyshock is not going to do nearly the damage that it wants to. The debuff is reset by a switch into Charizard. Can Psyshock be enough? It's a very efficient charge attack, but it does not get same type attack bonus. Psyshock lands, and it simply is not enough. And unfortunately, being triple weak to Dugong has consequences, and that's going to be a game 2 loss. Moving to game number 3, some spice from the opponent, Torterra into Como-O. Immediate save switch into Charizard. Charizard could have thrown the Air Cutter there to try and force a shield. Instead, Charizard is going to no-shield, calling the bait. A very risky bait call, as Clanging Scales would have picked up the 1-hit KO, but correctly assuming that people are very rarely going to throw a nuke move at a Shadow Charizard, and Charizard hangs on to get a second Air Cutter and force both shields. That is really nice, as now you can just bring in the Togekiss. Togekiss will shut down energy from Como-O. Como-O pivots, and they're going to send in their own Togekiss. But they're just so far behind in this matchup. Psyshock lands, that's big damage. Unfortunately, there hasn't really been a target for Torterra so far in this match. Togekiss will full send a Dazzling Gleam, so it looks like they're running the Aura Sphere Dazzling Gleam moveset instead of Psyshock. But the pacing on Psyshock is nice, picking up the knockout. It's going to be Empoleon in the back. That looks to be a charge attack priority tie, so this game is over, as Empoleon is able to force the final shield, but they have no way of preventing Aura Sphere from landing. That's going to pick up the knockout. In comes Torterra, who basically got to take the game off for this one. Picking up a positive lead in the next match, Torterra into Charge-a-Bug. Obviously, Volt Switch going to be triple resisted due to the typing on Torterra. Opponent does not time their charge attack well and lets through a free Mud Slap. The X-Scissor will be shielded. Torterra doesn't need to go for a Stone Edge, as even a resisted Frenzy Plant would do quite a lot of damage. Frenzy Plant is gonna land. Oh no, they live on 1 HP to make a final X-Scissor. Torterra no shields. It hangs on, but not by much. Opponent sends in their own Torterra, and this Torterra is about to have a truly terrible day. Frenzy Plant inflicts massive damage. In comes Togekiss in the back. Oh no, it's an Empoleon, and this Empoleon looks like it's going to sweep. Empoleon is going to win charge stack priority over that Togekiss. That is an IV-dependent CMP tie. The Aura Sphere is going to be shielded. Togekiss now in a substantial amount of trouble, but that may actually get the win. The full sacrificial swap catching on the Charizard. Back in comes the Togekiss. Will the opponent go for the catch? Will they stay in? It's going to be a very tough call to make here. Bandman waits the turn. Empoleon does not switch out, and this Aura Sphere will land on its intended target. Back in comes Torterra. Torterra gets farmed down, and that was the Togekiss show. Great way to find a win con by fully sacrificing the Charizard. Torterra versus Credilli in the next match. Grass Knot will inflict a ton of neutral damage. It is survivable for the Torterra, but it's definitely going to hurt. Torterra no shields, Grass Knot lands, Torterra barely hangs on. Now it will look to fire off the Frenzy Plant. Frenzy Plant is going to land, opponent is going to snipe with Shadow Annihilate. In comes Togekiss. Annihilate does not want to play the game anymore, and they just resign. Annihilate and Primeape used to be pretty solid save swaps, but unfortunately with Pokemon like Togekiss around this season, it's a lot less safe. Speaking of not being safe, this next match off to a very rough start, leading Torterra into Corviknight, but the save switch Togekiss is very happy to be up energy against Credilli. Credilli is going to be shielding up and launching a Rock Tomb to get that shield right back, but Togekiss has a huge pacing advantage. Togekiss now at back-to-back Aura Spheres, and 2 Aura Spheres will easily knock out this Credilli. Credilli puts up the shield, second Aura Sphere will connect, this will not knock out, but it is going to set up a 1-0 shield advantage for the Charizard, and that's exactly what Charizard wants. Credilli is forced to fire off the Rock Tomb that picks up the knockout. In comes Charizard. Charizard gets the farm down. Charizard is up energy and up a shield. Things are about to get very fun. Out comes Galarian Corsola, one of the few Pokemon that can actually survive a neutral Blast Burn. Blast Burn is gonna land, rocking the Corsola. Corsola, oh my goodness, we see the last second catch onto Torterra. Torterra absorbing that Nightshade. In comes the Corviknight. Corviknight's gonna have to be very careful, and they just lost the game. They had to be more mindful about over-farming because now there's not enough energy to outpace this Charizard. Charizard's going to get the Blast Burn, and that's going to be a win. The Corviknight needed to make sure that they basically were at 100 energy when they threw, because if they were not, what happened is exactly what's going to happen, and Charizard just sweeps. Good lead in the next match. Torterra into Empoleon. Empoleon going to stay in to grab an early shield and then presumably look to pivot out. What I don't like about the strategy from the opponent is they've lost basically their entire Empoleon to do so. In comes Talonflame. Torterra will grab a shield with the Stone Edge and then look to send out Charizard. Oh, they don't shield it! Torterra has had Stone Edge for ages. That's just something you gotta know. The opponent did not know, I guess, and that instantly forces them to resign the match. Moving into the next match, leading Torterra into Talonflame. Oh, this is such a bad lead. This team is so weak. The Talonflame save switch Charizard answered with a Lantern, and things could not be going any worse. Shadow Blast Burn, even though it's resisted, will still inflict huge damage onto the Lantern. Lantern is worried about a potential air cutter, so they will fire off some energy. The Lantern, I believe, is going to be in 3 Mud Slap range. Yeah, they barely don't die to the second Mud Slap, and that is slightly good news for the Torterra, as Torterra at the very least will get to force a shield from the Talonflame, but the bad news is that this Talonflame is just so far ahead. At this point, Togekiss is going to get completely outpaced by the Talonflame. There's not really anything Togekiss can do to win, as Talonflame can go Flame Charge into Double Fly and take this win. But they make a huge mistake. They go for a Flame Charge If you throw 2 flame charges, it's 3 to the next move, instead of if you flame charge fly, then it's 2 to the next move. They're getting outpaced. They switch into a Venusaur, and now we're going to see a catch onto Torterra. The opponent had the game completely won. They throw it all away by going for a second flame charge instead of going for the fly. This Togekiss undercharge is just style points because the opponent, their Talonflame was already easily in Psyshock range, but it's a very important lesson on energy residuals. That opponent had an unlosable endgame if they throw Flame Charge, Fly, but by throwing double Flame Charge, that completely threw the game. We move to the next match, and it's a familiar foe, Torterra into Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff will take massive damage from Frenzy Plant, so it's highly likely they will put up the shield. They do just that. Wigglytuff gonna look for a farm down. No, they realize they're gonna fall short, so they will fire off a last second Swift. Swift does get shielded. Frenzy Plant from Torterra will force switch or shield advantage. Frenzy Plant does get shielded, save switch into Togekiss, and Togekiss will immediately be met with a charge attack from the Wigglytuff. That's going to be the Icy Wind. Icy Wind, meaning that these Aura Spheres into the Dunsparce that get switched in are suddenly a lot less threatening. Aura Sphere is going to connect. It looks like it should still two-shot. Opponent will go for the Rock Slide as they would not be able to get a farm down before the second Aura Sphere was reached. That forces a shield from Togekiss. Togekiss will be able to take the knockout onto the Dunsparce, but now you have a Shadow Charizard that is shieldless. And Shadow Charizard without shields is going to be tough, but if it's a Kanto Marowak in the back, then it's actually going to turn out perfectly fine because Marowak can't get the Rock Slide. Charizard gets the Blast Burn. That's going to pick up the KO. In comes Wigglytuff. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. We jump right into the next game, leading Torterra into Scizor. And Scizor, these bullet punches are shredding through Torterra. Night Slash will be shielded. Torterra will get a full farm down, but pays a heavy price, exiting with basically no health remaining. What are they going to be sending in? It's going to be Altaria. Altaria will take a ton of damage from the Shadow Stone Edge if they let it through. They put up the shield, and now we see a save switch into the Togekiss. Togekiss more than happy to absorb a Sky Attack. Sky Attack is going to add up. It does quite a bit of damage, and now we're going to see a pivot out from the opponent as they bring in their final Pokemon, which is Galarian Corsola. This is a scenario where having Dazzling Gleam would be nice, as you get same type attack bonus damage into the bulky Corsola, but even Psyshock will add up. The question is, can Corsola get a farm down? No, they cannot. Opponent tries for it. They fail that farm down, and that's going to cost them as Psyshock will force a shield. A catch would be magnificent here. The Torterra is so low. In comes Charizard. There's the catch attempt, but the opponent says no. Back in comes Charizard. The way this game can be a win is if Charizard is able to exit this matchup with a charge attack. If it's able to exit with a move, it can win charge attack priority over Corsola and take this game. But Charizard's going to need to commit to a farm down. Altaria, can it get to a move? It cannot. And that's going to be game over. Back in comes the Corsola. All that stored energy simply does not matter as Air Cutter will deliver the win. We move to the next game, and it's a bit of an awkward lead here. Mud Slap Torterra into Shadow Gyarados. Save switch into Charizard. Charizard is going to get outpaced, but the opponent actually decides not to throw. Due to the one-turn switch, Charizard would get outpaced, but it looks like the opponent overfarmed by 1 just to play to a CMP tie that they do not win. Charizard now going to be answered with a Gastrodon. This is not an amazing answer. Charizard going to inflict serious damage with Blast Burn if it lands. The Blast Burn gets shielded. Body Slam will easily KO the Charizard. One unfortunate thing about being Torterra and being super glassy is that as opposed to the K-Wack matchup where you're actually walling the moves, Body Slam hurts, and it hurts a lot. Like, look at that. Torterra takes big damage from that Body Slam. Torterra, unable to get the farm down, is forced to fire off the Frenzy Plant. I do think Stat Product is something that definitely favors Toedscruel when it comes to taking a look at these grass grounds. In the back, oh, that's not good news. That's going to be the Galarian Corsola. And Corsola should be able to take home this win for the opponent just because Corsola has a winning matchup into this entire team. Psyshock will connect. Corsola, not worried about that damage whatsoever. Psyshock number 2, Togekiss doing all that it can. Corsola could have overfarmed a lot more. Is this going to end up costing this trainer the game? Because now Torterra can make a Frenzy Plant. It's going to be a race to the charge move. Frenzy Plant ends up being caught onto the Gyarados, so it doesn't matter. The Corsola could have made their life a lot easier if they overfarmed, but they don't overfarm, and they end up getting a game-winning catch, so the opponent will still be able to take the win, but they definitely made things quite difficult. Hopping into the final match, Shadow Torterra into Altaria, a nightmare start. Save switch into the Charizard. Charizard answered with Quagsire. Unfortunately, this is the non-Shadow Quagsire. I believe if it's the Shadow, Charizard can actually just find a way through it. We do see a boost, but even with the boost, I just don't think Charizard is going to be able to win the twos. Air Cutter going to be shielded up by the Quagsire. Charizard is going to shield at least once. I think Charizard may have had to just let that go because Charizard can't win twos here due to the fact that the regular Quagsire is going to be bulkier. But this is still going to set up a big farm down for the Torterra. Torterra just wants to try and grab a shield from the Altaria with Stone Edge, and then hopefully Togekiss up a shield will be able to sweep. Down goes Quagsire. Torterra still has quite a bit of health. The switch. In comes Togekiss. Altaria stays in, and Altaria will desync the switch timers by going for a Sky Attack. Sky Attack lands onto Togekiss in the back. Is Gastrodon, and the opponent is core broken. Gastrodon immediately under fire as Togekiss has back-to-back Aura Spheres locked and loaded. This Aura Sphere will barely miss the knockout. It's going to get very close, but the opponent does not trust it. I think at this point, you just leave it all up to Torterra. Torterra is going to have a shield, and it's getting a lot closer to a Stone Edge. Torterra is going to have to shield up the Body Slam. The Mud Slap goes through. Opponent should look to switch out here, and they do. In comes Altaria, but I don't think this is quite Stone Edge range. Stone Edge onto Altaria. Big damage. Can Torterra Mud Slap down a flying type? The answer is yes. Torterra leaves with a Frenzy Plant. Gastrodon is basically 1 HP, so that is massive overkill, and that is a good game. All in all, I think the coverage on Torterra may cause it to be used more in the Pokemon GO Championship Series, Show 6 Pick 3 style formats, but I think as far as GO Battle League goes, I imagine Toedscruel will be still the staple pick, as Torterra's lack of bulk means that even in matchups where it does wall something, like let's say the Shadow Kanto Marowak, 2 Rock Slides plus some Mud Slaps, and suddenly the Torterra has just been fully KO'd, whereas the Toedscruel with the better bulk can withstand that damage better. So I still think Toedscruel has the edge as far as GO Battle League goes for Show 6 Pick 3 style formats where flexibility in terms of your coverage is a lot more important. That's where I think Torterra could definitely see an edge. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.